The Middle Ages didn't seem to be the smartest time, and while some of this can be explained away by lack of knowledge and lack of documents, there is a weirdness from a modern perspective in how even the brightest people of that time were thinking about the world. So why? The year is 523 AD. The fall of the Roman Empire has happened only 50 years prior, and the senator of Ostrogoth King Theodoric the Great awaits execution. This senator's name is Boethius, who aside from his duties as a public servant, was also a philosopher, and while imprisoned on false charges of conspiracy against the king, wrote what will be one of the most important works of the Middle Ages, the Consolation of Philosophy. Boethius begins by describing his sad situation and introducing his imaginary companion, Lady Philosophy, a semi-human representation of reason through which he'll express most of his ideas. Boethius then reflects on how quickly his fortunes had changed, going from one of the most prosperous men in Rome to being imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. He arrives at the conclusion that things rewarded by fate, like money, power, and success, should not be valued as they can always be taken away. Reason and true virtue, Boethius argues, can't be taken away so quickly. Similarly, since neither money, power, glory, or physical pleasure can reward true happiness, unlike virtue, because reasons, the non-virtuous can never triumph over the virtuous because they would have failed at the very thing they wish to achieve, that being true happiness. This belief in the inherent weakness of evil also shows up in his position on justice, saying that criminals are simply misguided and ill and should be treated with care, like a doctor does a patient, though this idea seems to be somewhat less influential over the Middle Ages. Finally, Boethius does believe that people have partial free will due to the ability to use reason, but only God has true free will as people are still constrained by ignorance. Now, or then, how does all of this appear in the way thinkers thought during the Middle Ages? Well, the first and the biggest is the need to unite faith and morality with reason, something Boethius spends nearly the entire text doing. This shows up in medieval times as a big part of the scholastic tradition, the main philosophical system of Middle Ages Europe, which through both the physical constraints of monastic life and the non-existence of the printing press, and the institutions and thinking of the past few centuries, which Boethius was a very big part of, created a way of doing things which emphasized the mindless copying of previous works and the need to unite faith and reason into a complete truth, or summa. Besides that, the idea that the natural or as God intended it is inherently good, along with what looks like a Platonist ontological argument, also showed themselves in Boethius. It is kind of telling that such an important book for medieval Europe was written by an imprisoned noble, in his attempt to understand the cause of his suffering and to leave this world at peace. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the strong church hierarchy and the many scattered monasteries it governed were one of few institutions left to survive. Intellectuals were encouraged to hoard knowledge as cities emptied and power became increasingly decentralized, as the empire didn't really just fall once with the Germanic tribes, but continued its journey through the floor with invasions from nearly all sides for the next few centuries, not to mention internal conflicts. It's no wonder then that the ideas of Boethius took hold in Europe, experiencing quite a similar rapid change of fate. All of this, from Boethius to scholasticism to Vikings and monasteries, can help clarify the thinking of what appeared to be a dark age oddity. One more thing. Due to the style of the text being a dialogue between Boethius and an imaginary angel of philosophy, you end up with a lot of situations in which Boethius is enthusiastically agreeing with himself. Have a listen.
Yes, no, certainly not, it seems so, who can venture to deny it? Yes, when I consider further, I see it to be even as thou sayest, why certainly not, there is no denying it, 'tis evident, it could scarcely be otherwise, assuredly not. Yes, this was clearly proved and cannot in any wise be doubted.